Well, here's our other Tinius-Olson universal testing machine. This is our older version. It's not computer controlled. You see the loading gauge here. I've got these two wheels that control loading and unloading. This is how I turn on the hydraulic pump. Here's how I stop the hydraulic pump. Turn it off, that means. Raising and lowering the crosshead. So just like that other machine, it's got a loading deck. This is the loading deck. It's got a crosshead. Here's the top of the frame. The specimen is already loaded in here. There's two strain gauges on the front. Can you see them under there? One of them is longitudinal, one of them is transverse. And then there's two more strain gauges that you'll see when I go around to the other side. So what do we see here? A switching and balancing unit, a B.L.H switching and balancing unit, and we've got a strain indicator. In my previous video I showed you how the strain indicator works. So let me step back so you can see this whole thing at once. So this is hydraulically operated. Notice, do not operate this equipment without authorization. Well, I am the authorization. If you look in there, you can see the hydraulic lines. See the hydraulic lines down there? There's an electric motor that we use to control the crosshead. Can you see the specs here? So there we have an electric motor. Back side of the specimen, can you see the two other strain gauges on there? I showed you the two strain gauges on the front. Here are the two on the back. So the reason we have a switching and balancing unit is because there are 4 strain gauges, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. So that's why we need this switching and balancing unit, because we're actually reading strain in 2 different directions. There's going to be, for this activity, a channel 1 and a channel 2. One of the channels for the longitudinal strain gauge and one of them for the transverse strain gauge. Let's take a look at the wiring in the back. Okay, quite an elaborate hookup back here. Here I turned it around so maybe you can see it a little bit better now. So that is the switching and balancing unit. I'm going to plug this into the front of the strain indicator. Here's the strain indicator that you already know how to use. Okay, now the loading gauge. There's 3 sets of numbers at relevant tick marks. So this is 0, obviously. Right here, for example, 250, 2,500, 10,000. There's 3 different loading ranges here. Here's the range selector right back here. It's behind the switching and balancing unit. You see I can switch this to low, to middle, or to high. And by adjusting that knob, I'm able to control which of the 3 numbers it is that I'm reading off of, whether it be the low, in this case 750, or the middle, that's 7,500, or the high, that's 30,000, also known as 30 kips. This machine goes all the way up to 120 kips, although it's a very old machine, so I don't know if it can actually do that much loading in a practical sense. So let me step back so you can see this whole thing. So our old Tinius-Olson universal testing machine. Sunday, January 17th, about 8:27 in the morning. I'm going to do the Poisson's ratio lab activity. So here's the universal testing machine. I'm going to turn it on over here. There's a lever. Turn it on. You see the lights come on. So let's get this going. So I turn it on using this lever over here on the left side of the machine. When I turn it on, I've got 3 different settings at my disposal. So right now it's on middle. I showed you this lever earlier. When I switch it to low, then the 3,000 pound capacity lights come on. That means it'll only go up to 3,000 pounds. So going back to middle, now the capacity is 30 kips. opening up the unload wheel here, just to make sure there's no fluid still in there. When I switch to high, then the capacity is 120 kips. But for today's activity, we'll be using middle. Okay, sometimes the needle's a little bit weird, so going back to 0. Okay, so I plugged in the strain indicator. I'll be using the 4-arm bridge. The switch is on 4-arm. Turn it on. And I want to start at 2,500. Set this to 2,500. I'm turning the strain measurement wheel on the side. 2500. Okay, the needle's not in the middle, but I'll take care of that in a moment. And now press the start button. But first, close the unload wheel. Float the table. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I want this to start at 2,500 with the needle in the null position. I'm using this knob to get it there. See how it moves around when I turn the knob? So that's channel 1. I want to start off at 2,500. So just fine tuning it here. Now switch to channel 2, and I want to start with the needle in the null position and a reading of 2,500. So I'm going to turn this knob until the needle gets in the null position. Oh, there it goes finally. There, 2,500. Float the table here. That's how I know it's floated. I pull out the wooden blocks. Are we filming here? See, when I pull out the wooden block, when the table is high enough, when the loading deck is high enough for me to pull out the wooden block, and I know that it's floated. Let me do it a little bit more because I can't quite pull out the block on the other side. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Alright, make sure it's tight. Make sure the specimen is in there tight. Okay. And make sure this reads 2,500 on both channels. Channel 1, 2,500. Channel 2, 2,500. Okay, so I think we're good to go. The needle is not quite on 0 here, the load needle that is. So I know it's 0 pounds, so I'm going to use the 0 adjuster knob back here. The 0 adjuster knob to get that down to 0. Like so. Okay, so let me get this started then. So at 0 pounds, 2,500. And now up to 2,500. Waiting for the needle to move. I wanted to get up to 2,500, which is this position. Maybe you can't see it from where you're sitting, but the 2,500 position is right here. starting to move. And closing it. Okay, so 2,500. Channel 1, 2680. Now channel 2, channel 2. Bring it back up to 2,500. Maybe you can't see from where you're sitting. Channel 2. 2,450. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. The load is up at 2,500. It's bleeding off a little bit, but I get it up to 2,500. I take a channel 1 reading by turning the strain measurement wheel on the side of this, get that needle in the middle, and what did I say it was a minute ago? 2680 about? It was 2680. The needle is slipping a little bit, so that's why it's not quite 2680 this time, but when I first read it, it was. And then I switch to channel 2, and I take a reading. You see the needle isn't in the middle, so I have to turn the strain measurement wheel until it is. What did I say it was a minute ago? 2,450. So that's what I'm doing. So now the next stop is 5,000, so that'll be right here. So I'm going to turn the loading wheel here until this needle gets up to here, 5,000. Got it? And I'm going to go back to channel 1. Really nothing spectacular happening with the specimen. No distortion that you can see with the naked eye. $5,000. So close the load wheel. I'm on channel 1, take a reading. And this is kind of a balancing act here. Let's call it 2850 for channel 1. Now channel 2, switch to channel 2 here. Bring the load back up to 5,000. $2,405. $2,405. How is that so far? Okay, let's take a look at what we've got here with the specimen. So as you can see, no noticeable change with the specimen. These quantities are so tiny that you can't see them with the naked eye. But again, here's my specimen. You see the 2 strain gauges on there. You can see that the load bleeds off a little bit if I'm not doing anything. I just took a 5,000 pound reading. Let me switch this back to channel 1. I'm going to take a channel 1 reading for 7,500, which is right there. Right there. So now I'm going to turn the load wheel right here and bring it up to 7,500. And I'm on channel 1, so let me turn the load wheel very slightly. And there it is. Okay, so channel 1. Bring it back up again. Right there. I'm going to call it 3020. 3020 for channel 1. Now switch to channel 2. Bring the load back up to 7500 or 7.5 kips. Call it 2360 for channel 2. 2360, 2360. Okay, next stop, 10,000. 10,000. So well, let's see what we have here. Next stop, 10,000. So this needle right here, I want to bring that up to here. Specimen okay? All right, so now I'm very slowly going to turn the load wheel until it gets up to 10,000. Okay, so watch this. I'm very slowly opening the load wheel. Very slowly turning the load wheel. And when it gets to 10,000, then I'm going to close the load wheel. And while I'm waiting, I'm switching and balancing unit back to channel 1. So it's climbing now, up to 10,000. Okay, there it is. Close the load wheel. So the load wheel is closed. Let me take a reading. So I'm on channel 1. Slipping a little bit, so let me bring this back up. Right there, no, not quite, right there. This is a balancing act. Call it 3200. Channel 1, 3200. Okay, channel 2. $23.20. Next stop. Oops, next stop 12,500. 12,500. Switch back to channel 1. Load it. And there it is. Close this. Okay, channel 1. Slipping a little bit. $33.70, 3370, channel 1. Okay, are we still filming over here? So now I'm going to check channel 2. Okay, bring it back up to 12,500. right there. Try this a little bit. Try to turn this a little bit more. 2280. Good enough for government work. 2280. Okay. How are we doing here? Now bring it up to 15,000. That's up at the top. And there's the specimen over there. Okay, so 15,000. That's the 12 o'clock position. So switch this back to channel 1. Up to 15,000. 3540 for channel 1, 3540. Now channel 2. This is a balancing act here. Right there. 2235. 2235. You see how this is slipping? I just hit 15,000. The load is going back down. If I wait a moment, I don't even have to open the unload wheel because it's going to get back down to 12,500 on its own, and that's where my next reading is going to be, 12,500. As you can see, there's really no noticeable change in the specimen. Maybe if I had a really precision camera, it would be able to detect something, but not here. So now I'm at 12,500, or not quite, I'm getting there. Channel 1, and I've gone below 12,500, so now I have to turn the load wheel to bring it back up to 12,500. And there it is. Bring it back up. Right there. Call it 3370. 3370. Channel 2. Right there. 2280. Okay, next stop 10,000. Switch this back to channel 1. 31905. 31905. That's channel 1. Channel 2. Right there. 2320, 2320, 2320. Is that good? Okay, next stop, 7,500. That's right there. I'm waiting for this needle to get down to here, 7,500. I'm going to switch this back to channel 1, channel selector on channel 1, and it's not quite going fast enough, so I'm going to very slowly open the unload wheel to get it to drop a little bit faster. And now it's gone a little bit less, so bring it back up. Right there. Call it 3030 for channel 1. Channel 2. Right there. Call it 2360. 2360. Next stop 5000, which is right here. Next stop 5000. Switch this back to channel 1. And I'm just going to hang around here and wait for it to get back down to 5000. I'm impatient, so I'm going to open up the unload wheel and speed things up. I'm on channel 1. So open up the unload wheel a little bit as I slowly drop back down to 5000. I don't know if you can see it from where you're sitting over there. Uh, 2850, channel 1, 2850. Switch to channel 2. Right there. 2405. Stop 2500, which is right there. Switch back to channel 1. Okay, so let's look at it close up. So close up, here's the load needle, very slowly slipping. I want to get it back down to 2,500. Specimen looks good. I didn't break it. Why would I break it? At less than 5,000 pounds, it's not going to break. I took it up to 15,000, that's not going to break it either. I wonder how much it would take to break it. I'm not going to test that today. Alright, so this isn't going fast enough, so I'm going to open the unload wheel ever so slightly, and as you can see it speeds up. I'll open the unload wheel a little bit, and when it hits 2,500 I'm going to close the unload wheel. So right there, kind of slipped there. Okay, right there, close it. So now I've closed the unload wheel. Okay, now I'm going to take some readings. What channel am I on? Channel 1? Two 2680. 2680. Now channel 2. I can bring it up a tiny bit. 2450, good enough for government work. 2450. Now back down to 0 pounds. Bring it back down to 0. So 0 pounds, that's right here. Go back to channel 1. Open the unload wheel. And about there. Okay, channel 1, what am I reading? 2505. Okay, now channel 2. Okay, channel 2. Channel 2, let's call it 2500. 2500. Okay, let me document this up close. Okay, so 0 pounds, and this reads 2500 in the strain measurement window. The needle is in the null position, so that's what I want to end up with, 2,500. This is on channel 2. On channel 1 I had 2505, so not perfect. So there you go. Okay, are we still filming over here? Okay, so what do I do next? Underneath the loading deck. Put those blocks back under there. Okay, now I'm going to unload this entirely, so I'm going to turn that unload wheel. Turn the unload wheel right there until the loading deck comes back down. Here, I can just open it up here. And now the blocks are stuck. I can't pull them out because I've completely unloaded these specimens. So following my checklist. So it says here, when fully unloaded, press the stop button. Right there. And now it's quiet because the hydraulic pump has been turned off. Okay, turn off the strain indicator box and the balancing unit. So how do I do that? The strain indicator box, turn that off here. And then the switching and balancing unit, just switch that to off. It's the channel selector knob. I turn that to off. And then turn off the machine using the lever on the left, so that's over here. Turn it off. And there's peace and quiet now. All right, so there you have it.